Shabbat Shalom, family. The name is Emeka, coming to you with another Sabbath teaching. This is going to be my 10th one. With that being said, I'm here to edify the lost 12 tribes scattered throughout the diaspora as it pertains to the elect through the sanctification and the foreknowledge of our Messiah, Big Brother, who is in the third heaven by the name of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach in the Lashon Kadosh, Paleo Hebrew tongue. And I would like to start off with Jeremiah chapter 16. Verse 19 to 21. Oh, yeah. And I also want to make a disclaimer, right? All glory to the Most High Yahweh, okay, for giving me the spirit to edify and continue to teach and edify the 12 tribes, right, throughout the earth. And I just want to make a disclaimer as it pertains to, right, people that feel like, this is an obsession, this is I'm talking about like the other nations or even some of Israel too, who just believe that this is just, a seasonal thing. No. I just want to remind you that this is a lifestyle, okay? Right? And only the true elect can understand this message. So with that being said, I'm going to start with the read in Jeremiah chapter 16, verses 19 to 21. And it says, O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge, in the day of affliction the Gentiles shall come upon thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Shall a man make gods unto himself, and there is no gods? Therefore, behold, I will cause them to know my hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is the Lord Yahweh. Okay, this is going into the revelation that is currently happening, right, in our modern day world, right, where the children of Israel are remembering who they are, and the Gentiles, other nations, that is, are realizing that salvation isn't for them, and the Messiah isn't a Caucasian man, and he's coming back for vengeance, right? Because of what has transpired on his nation, okay? AKA slavery and genocide, okay? So now in the next one, Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 23 says, truly in vain is salvation hope from the hills and from the multitude of the mountains. Truly in the Lord our God is salvation of Israel, right? YASHARALLA in the Lashon Kadosh. So Jeremiah is further emphasizing that it's vain for these other nations, referenced as hill and mountains, right, to wish for salvation, right? It's really, really vain for them. It's like of nothing because Christ didn't come for them, okay? People who need salvation are the ones who are at the bottom of society, right, as it pertains to, the Caucasian hegemony. So, again, salvation emphasizing only for Israel. 2 Ezra chapter 9, verse 21 to 22 reads, and I saw and spared it greatly, and I've kept me a grape of the cluster, and plant of a great people. Let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain, and let my grape be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. So that perfection goes back to the nation of YASHARALLA, right, which is Israel. And the multitude that perish goes to the other heathen nation, right? They were born in vain, right? Of nothing. They were just meant to be an example of Yahweh's wrath. So that's what 2nd Ezra is emphasizing and correlating that with Jeremiah as well. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 21 to 23 reads, I will set my glory among the heathen, and all the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. So the house of YASHARALLA shall know that I am the Lord their God from that day and forward. And the heathen shall know that the house of YASHARALLA went into captivity for their iniquity, right, which means sin, because they trespassed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword. It goes into the curses as pertains to Deuteronomy chapter 28, right, and Leviticus chapter 26, okay? So the topic at hand is, can the real heathens stand up? Slim Shady version, okay? And this is very, very important because, I'm going to be dissecting the heathen nations individual, starting from Edom. But before I do that, I would like to start off with what is a pagan, right? And this article reads, pagan traditions have a strong focus on ritual, and practitioners may draw from multiple sources or follow single contemporary pagan traditions. The largest of the later is Wicca, a form of religious witchcraft that includes dozens of lineages, paths, and styles. Other traditions include Drury, non-Wicca forms of religious witchcraft, heathenry, right there, that's the word, heathens. As true, Northern European paganism, feminist goddess worship, and a variety of Reconstructionism. including Greek, Egyptian, Celtic, Roman, Canaanite, and as well as other historical religions. Pagan rituals commonly focus on honoring a deity or deities, observing natural cycles such as seasonal changes or waxing or waning of the moon, or celebrating rites of passage such as birth, transition into adulthood, marriage, and death. Sociologist Helen Berger reports that as many as 79% of American pagans today may identify as solitary, which just means individuals. They don't like to congregate, in large groups. Most do not celebrate within a specific temple or building, though there are a few pagan temple buildings in the United States. That's going back to your Washington Monument, right? Like the shrines that they have there, right? Set up, right? Like your Abraham Lincoln statue, just like how Pharaoh put his big ass head on the pyramid so everybody can know, like, oh, he's the Pharaoh of Egypt or the king of Egypt. That's exactly what you have today, modern day Egypt, aka daughter of Babylon, which is so-called United States of America. Pagan symbols include the pentacle, right? The interlaced five-pointed stars that is often worn by Wiccas, which just means witchcraft, right? These witches, warlocks, all of them, they wear that, the five-pointed star. And the star is pointed up to a line with an upright human body with one point for the head and outward and downward facing the points for the arms and legs. The pentacle is a symbol of life and the union of elements, earth, air, water, and fire with spirits, though it has often been misrepresented as a symbol of evil in popular horror films. See, that's that mind control and that double speak. What good can ever come from messing with the elements? Okay? What good can ever come from a pentagram? As I will further emphasize and, dissect in the progression of my video. Another is a practice of divination, which may take the simple form of asking about a day ahead or inquiring about a specific question. Some pagans consult astrology, going back to your horoscope nonsense, right? Your Scorpio, Aries, Pisces, Libra, all that BS, okay? He's not dealing with that. God is not dealing with that type of stuff. While others use tarot cards, right? See that juju magic, right? Back to sender. He's not messing with you. You do that stuff, you're going to die. That's simple. Okay, runes or pendulums to access sources of spiritual knowledge. So the biblical precept pertaining to how God feels about this, you can find that in Deuteronomy chapter 18 and 10. It says, there shall not be found among you one that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire. That's that fire that gets, summoned on the ground when these so-called warlocks and witches are doing their magic. Or that uses divination, or an observer of times that goes to your horoscope, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter of familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer, right? People who talk to the dead, just like the Egyptians did. Okay, so the first pagan nation, like I alluded earlier, that I would like to dissect will begin with Edom. Okay, so Job chapter 30 verse 8 says this about them. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men, which just means the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the litter that God made, okay? They were violent in the earth, right? In Hebrews, New Testament, chapter 12, verse 16 to 17 reads, lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, which is the father of all the modern-day Caucasians today, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. So when they realize that God isn't dealing with them and he's coming to judge them for what they have done to the children of YASHARALLA, then they start crying, right? Because that's what Esau does. That's what their forefather did when he realized that, his blessing had been given to his brother Jacob, right? After he sold it and then tried to retain it back, right? By not being a man of his word, right? So that's what they do when they realize that salvation isn't for them. The origins of these so-called Edomites can be found in this article titled Demonology/Folklore, Wild Men or Wood Wolves by Benjamin Adama, published in August 21st, 2019. The wild man is an anthropomorphic being in the popular belief of Germanic and Slavic linguistics area from the early Middle Ages to the beginning of the modern time. The first element of the wood wolves is usually explained as a form of wood, forest, derived from the Proto-Germanic woodos, woodland, wood, tree. Wild men are a specifically Central European form of a mythical idea of semi-human forest dwellers that occurs worldwide in all cultures. The creatures first appear as wild people, medieval Latin Slavonian, or wild people, later personified as wild men, wild women, or also as wild ladies. Similarly, folklore in Tyrone, German-speaking Switzerland in 20th century include a wild woman known as fange or fang, which derives from the Latin fauna, the feminine form of fawn. Medieval sources gave as names for the wild woman Lamaya or Hos Moaya. The formerly clearly refers to the Greek wilderness demon Lamaya, while the later derives ultimately from Maya, a Greco-Roman earth and fertility goddess who is identified elsewhere with Fauna and who has exerted a wide influence on the medieval wild man lore. Slavic has largely forest man. So the forest man can be depicted in this first image, family of three, right? Exonerating, personifying their ancient roots, right? As the wild man, as they dress like them. Okay? In the next exhibit, we have an animation showing the characteristics and the ability of the barbarous nature of the wild man, right? Seeing how they have a human being tied to the tree, probably for human consumption, as they were known to be cannibals, okay? All right, awesome. So you can see hairy all over like Esau. Next, we have three hairy wild man carnival party in southern Germany, right? You can see the allure and you see how they glorify this type of stuff, right? And they're parading in the streets, broad daylight, so they know what's up. They know that they go back to these people. And over here, on your right side, you see the children, right, basking in this type of excitement because they, this is their culture, right? They embrace it. Awesome. So now we have this image, right? And Job chapter 30 just quickly pops in my head because it shows the nature of Esau, right? In that couple early verses from verse 1 all the way to like verse 6, showing that they were chased from the Isles of Man, right, into the wilderness. And they howled and brayed like dogs at the moon. And they ate juniper roots for their meats, right? And they crawled on all fours, right? Literally depicting that imagery, okay? All right, and then next, this is two video witnesses. The first one is from a show in 2019 titled The Last Wood Wolves. And the next one is a so-called scholar, right, trying to play damage control, undermining that he does derive from this set lineage, and just trying to romanticize and fantasize about, the reality of these people being real. Okay, so the first video I'm going to play starts now. Thus says,
and they're rare. So rare that you might never meet another. What's happening?
I don't know. Let's go.
Not yet. There are some things you need to know. These woods are my home. I've lived here peacefully all my long, long life. I leave humans alone. But I've seen what you've done. I know what you can do. You think you can just carry on and that nothing can stop you. And you can. Maybe. We'll see. Let's start with some shape-shifting.
Shape-shifting.
Turning into other animals, creatures, insects, or birds.
How?
Picture the creature from nose to tail. Feel the texture of their fur, their skin. Imagine you can climb inside. I don't want to. Sink into their minds. Flex your claws, tail and wings. Swear their scent.
I want.
See the woodland through their eyes.
I want to eat someone.
Yup, just like in Job chapter 30. Perfect imagery, right? Life imitates art. So the next exhibit I would like to play was a so-called college professor just trying to belittle and undermine the essence that he does derive from the origins of the so-called Edomites in the Bible, caveman beasts of the earth. And I just find it funny that he tries to use these playful words like folklore and vice versa. Besides the whole fact that he was cutting himself throughout the video about 3 or 4 times, I just find it hilarious. But yeah, let's watch this.
The idea of Sasquatch draws to these things even if the chaotic wild man didn't. Early on, the wild man was depicted as cannibalistic, and that didn't disappear entirely over time. On the left is an 11th century image, and on the right, an early 16th century image. While the one on the right is not described as a wild man.
Before proceeding, I would just like the viewers to focus their mindset right here where it says a number of tribal names of the creature also translate to devil. Okay, I didn't say it, they said it.
As a cannibal or werewolf, the Met catalog says, quote, several features link the werewolf and the wild man. The wild man was thought by many to abduct children, sometimes to adopt or exchange his own child for a human one, at other times for the purpose of cannibalism. And it's no secret that many North American tribal names for the Sasquatch are translated as cannibal. It's also true that dozens of indigenous cultures in North America have stories of the abduction of their women and children by the hairy giants. And in some cases, that fear is still alive. A number of tribal names for the creature. I'm going to use the word creature. I don't necessarily like to use that, but I'm going to use that as an alternative reference. Also translate to devil. I don't really care to meet the werewolf on the right. He's really torn up the place. A major theme represented in the art of the medieval wild man was the competition between pure and audible knights, representing church, virginity.
Oh yeah, I'd like to just pause in this segment right here. So this picture is very significant because I think in my previous video, right, the greatest lie ever told, I talked about the Moors, right, living in the castle, defending their home from such vile people, such as these wild men, illustrated in, I believe, the tapestry in like Spain and whatever. So with that being said, this is just the guys emphasizing, like, you know, this stuff really happened. The knights were defending, you know, their houses and their vicinity from these people by utilizing weaponry such as the bow and arrow and vice versa, In other words, they did manage to domesticate some of these so-called wild men, right? The cavemen on the earth, Edom, Esau, right? His lineage. And, just as Esau, just like Esau does the best, right? Infiltrates and backstabs people. And unfortunately, the Moors were, then, I guess, replaced by these people because they infiltrated and took over their society. And, it's just, further emphasizing my last point of my video. So let's return.
Marriage and civilization on the one hand, and impure, lustful, lecherous wild men on the other. Complicating this appears to be a change in the opinion of the wild man as being a condemned creature to one which was innocent of sin. Serious, if not widespread, debate over both of these interpretations suggests that the wild man was not viewed as a myth, although stories had certainly mythological elements. I don't know that wild men actually stormed that castle in Spain, right?
They did.
But as a real competitor and creature of interest in the flesh. Wild man, or desire with image of Venus, in this one leading Liriano, a woodcut. Quote, a large, hairy wild man with vines entwined around his waist holds a shield in one hand and cradles a statuette of a naked woman encircled by a flaming mandrola in his other arm. He leads a forlorn-looking youth whose hands are bound behind his back from a dense woods. In this image, the wild man is elevated from a symbol of mere sexuality into a rare allegorical one of unfulfilled sensual desire. In his usual context, the wild man is capable of almost all principal medieval attitudes toward women, except the courtly one of restrained adulation and respect. He is thus a natural opponent of the knight, who represents the discipline and civility the wild man lacks.
Bingo.
Late in the period, wild people became symbolic of primal innocence, unstained by the fall described in Genesis.
Oh.
The wild man in his more benign aspect was variously described in art as a gatherer, a hunter, a keeper of the forest, even a...
Just like Esau, you see? It's evident. You can't make this stuff up.
farmer and family man. Many people today like to refer to the Sasquatch as the forest giants or forest people. First Peoples names for the Sasquatch commonly mean wild man of the woods or wild woman of the woods. Regarding gathering and hunting, Sasquatch are frequently described as opportunists and reported to raid orchards, gardens, granaries, and even garbage bins. Hunters and fishermen have sometimes had their kills and catches taken by them. Both researchers and First Peoples have sometimes made it a practice to leave gifts of food for them, whether wild-caught or store-bought. Reports of Sasquatch hunting and fishing prowess and capabilities are not uncommon. Information gathered from some remote villages in the Caucasus and published by...
Oh, strike three. He said Caucasus for Caucasians. Okay. All right. So this brings me to the next transition, right? So their natural state. They cannot help it in the 21st century. Don't let the glamour of a nice suit, car, or house fool you. So the first video I'd like to play is two Edomites, right, in their natural estate doing caveman things, okay? So
this is what Larry King and QCP are having for breakfast today. That's right, bull balls right out of the...
And I just want to recall for the viewers in the video that we just previously watched with the so-called professor talking about these people and their cannibalistic nature. Here you have it, you know, in real time, 21st century, right? Demonstrated that type of attribute.
Fucking scrotum. Cheers.
It's disgusting.
Tastes like pasta. You heard it from QCP, and you probably can guess what this is. We got a couple of pounds of kidney, and we're gonna be having a whole beef protein shake, delicious and dessert worthy.
FDA,
Probably not like the bull balls that we're eating now. We're also gonna have a Liver King bar.
Isn't this how COVID-19 started?
Not man enough
eating
to eat
you
balls.
These people are
Right
just
outside.
hypocrites.
Get yourself a ball
Anyways,
of...
enough of this bullshit. So now the next segment is a Sheetamite having the time of her life. Violation. You see, these people have no fear of God. Like, this is a pure violation towards his commandments, because he said not to eat anything that has blood in it, let alone raw meat. It's just, you can't even make it up. And you have the 2/3 of Israel following these people, right? Following them and eating raw food just because they want to feel, I guess, high prestige, feel good, feel like, they're better and elegant than everybody else. Little do they know they're following after cave dwellers. But I digress. She breaks it up like bread. Like, what am I watching? This is sick. Look at that. The pride. Yep, enough of this bullshit. So now the third video and the last one is demonstrating something called cannibal sandwich, and I want you guys to pay attention to the setting, this thing that's being taking place, right? Because this is not at the convenience of somebody's house, so we're gonna just play to watch this.
Cannibal sandwiches, aka raw beef sandwiches. Basically, you're taking some rye bread, topping it with pepper jack cheese, raw ground beef, onions, salt, and pepper. This is super traditional old.
As you can see, public setting in a restaurant, predominantly Edomites. This is just, dumb in their natural state. They can't help it. They just can't, it's in their DNA. You understand? So, yeah. Can the real heathens please stand up?
Wisconsin food. There's nothing more Midwesty than cannibal sandwiches, aka raw beef sandwiches. Basically, you're taking some rye bread, topping it with pepper jack cheese, raw ground beef, onions, salt, and pepper. This is super traditional old school Wisconsin food. There's nothing more Midwest.
I like how, some of the Edomites in the comments are trying to like downplay it, like, oh, it's a like, taboo, but you can clearly see in the video that motherfucker is packed. So they're serving these to their customers, right? With intention. Okay? So that brings me to the religion aspect of these so-called people, right? This can be further, I guess, spoken in more detail in my previous video called Religion as AIDS. So Catholicism, Christianity that is rooted in paganism, and it's alluded in my previous video, Religion as AIDS. Example, Yule is a festival historically observed by the Germanic people. Scholars have connected the original celebrations of Yule to the god Odin. Okay, some present-day Christmas customs and traditions such as the Yule log, the Yule goat, the Yule boar, Yule singing, and others may have connections to older pagan Yule traditions. Yule and the cognates are still used in English and the Scandinavian language, as well as in the Finnish and Estonian, to describe Christmas and other festivals occurring during the winter holiday. So this winter holiday is a commemoration of something called Saturnalia. Saturnalia, right, was observed by the Romans. The celebrations consist of feasting, role reversals, gift giving, gambling. The observance is, the public sacrifice and banquet for the god Saturn, universal phoenix wearing of the Pilus, right? The data was exhibited or, honored was from the 17th to the 23rd. Saturnalia was the Roman equivalent to the earlier Greek holiday Cornea, all right, which was celebrated during the Attic month, right? It also was ruled by the god of Saturn, okay? So this is some supported images like videos by Instagram user, right? The witchy interpreter, right? These people are so bold, right? They don't care. They literally tell you who they are. We can see some of these activities being displayed here. As you can see, exchange of handmade and natural-based gifts, right? Creating a Yule altar space, make your own ornaments, right? All witchcraft, pagan. right? Sweaters, send cards out to loved ones. Make your own pine and cinnamon smudge sticks. Have a ritual to welcome the sun back. You see, it's all pagan, right? All of this. Okay, and then we can see right here the Yule log, the Yule tree, right? The pentagram, as alluded earlier, and yeah. As we can see, we have some midsummer activity. I recommend the viewers to go watch that movie. It literally describes, the Edomites' tradition in precise detail. This is a scene from the movie, right? I just want the viewers to realize the pagan cross, right? That represents Nimrod and his genitalia and all that, pagan stuff. Yeah. You can see these people are in a trance, just all bugged out, all of them. Okay? And you're going to find out more in detail when you watch that movie, Midsummer. Right? They take like a serum and they bug out. Next, we have that cross in, more detail in HD. Right? You can see. Right? I think they play sports, they throw the ball between the hole and stuff like that, but still, exhorting and reverencing their pagan deities, as you can see, right? A lot of Edomite people running around, this is what they do, this is what, this is their tradition, right? You see, not a brother in sight, straight Edomites, right? This is what they, gather around, right? They sing around the Yule tree, right? Their pagan deities, and yeah, as you can see, right? This is their customs. Next, we have the representation of the god Odin, as I alluded to earlier, right? Of their Saturnalia customs. I just want the viewers to focus on some peculiar things. Like first, we have the pentagram, 5 in a literally star. We have Odin right here in this form. We have Odin in this form, right? All right, this is where your Santa Claus comes from, okay? This guy, his name is actually Odin, pagan god that the Grecians and Romans believe in. Here you have who? Baphomet, right? The ram, right? Ashatan, Satan, okay? With your ornaments and your Christmas Yule log, right? It's another version of Odin right here. And right here, your so-called stockings, right? All right, Christmas stockings. All right, your mistletoe right here, and another version of him right here. And yeah, just want the viewers to pay attention. Next, we have, Mary Yule. Like, what the hell? Like, it just can't get worse. It just gets worse and worse, like descending into hell, And there you go. That Christmas tree with the light, and you see all them pagans worshiping, the elements of nature. Like, that's what this is about. It's not of God, right? It's about the devil himself, literally. Okay? And I have this video to further justify, by other testimonial witnesses, right, of how this is celebrated today in our modern day world.
Darlings, and welcome. In this video, I want to explore ways for a modern witch to celebrate Yule and...
She said a modern what? Nah, we gotta replay that.
And welcome. In this video, I want to explore ways for a modern witch to
Damn.
celebrate Yule and the winter solstice, mindfully as well as inexpensively, with some ideas for simple celebrations that honor the season. Let's do some magical crafting. Yule and winter solstice are magical times for witches and practitioners
Bruh.
to celebrate the turning of the season.
If you don't repent, you're finished. You're going to die with the heathens. Simple. Look at this. In the year of 2024, you cannot remain ignorant about the things that are transpiring around you. You have to take the notion to educate and inform yourself about what you do and practice and put in your mind. There's no more excuses. Right? God gave us the internet. And Esau took credit for that. But God did it. He's the one that gave us the internet. Okay? No more excuses. Right? He gets that glory, not Esau. He does. Because Daniel prophesied at the end of the world, knowledge shall increase. Next is the next. I'm just so disgusted right now. But we have the next witness, validating what I just said. In the previous videos, excuse me.
Hello, people. I'm Jenny Matherall, and I'm a fourth-generation witch.
Look at that. So proud. Smiling. Damn.
Calendar, and that is the winter solstice. This festival has been celebrated for the whole of humanity. It is one of the great fire festivals of the year. And so therefore, we're going to look at the traditions, the celebrations, the rituals, and the rites that you might use to celebrate Yule.
That's crazy.
So Yule is the great feast of the winter solstice.
And in the Hollywood too, they put this shit right in our faces, man. Like, look at Krampus. Like, they made that movie about a demonic Santa. Like, come on, man. Like, and still, I remember watching that movie, sitting down in that month, just watching it and just like thinking, like, what? Not Santa. Thank God for this revelation, because everything makes so much perfect sense. Your days are numbered, Edom. Your days are numbered.
So therefore, they celebrated this moment as the darkest depth of winter. And of course, one of the main ways that we celebrate this festival is to bring light to it. It is a festival.
There you go with that Christmas bullshit. That light. Oh, man. God, please forgive me for forever dwelling in this stuff. Thank you for waking me up. Thank you for Yahweh. Thank you, Yahweh, for waking me up.
And this is seen, throughout the traditions, which I'll go into a bit later.
The Bible commands us, right, to love God is to hate evil. Look at that. Yep. Going back to our ancestors, right? Esau, Edom, right? Cave dwellers, right? They fell in love with fire. And that was what, that's what they're attracted to. Light, brightness, because there's no light in them. Okay. The next segment is Edomites are really Satan's children. So this is a report from the Glendale Police Department, occult criminal investigation. As you can see, right, U.S. Department, so it's validated, okay? Cool. So the next part is the pentagram, a 5-pointed star, like I alluded earlier in the beginning of this class. The pentagram is an important symbol for the Western magic and represents the 4 elements surmounted by the spirits. It is regarded as a symbol of human spiritual aspirations when the point faces upwards, but the symbol of bestiality and retrograde. Okay. The next is the witches' Sabbath, meeting of witches, coven held in order to perform magical rites and ceremonies. A large number of witches and warlock who would gather around the bonfire. Oh my God, we just saw that video. The imagery. Oh wow, this is crazy. Bonfire or cauldron, light black candles, and perform sacrifice. The Sabbath will culminate a sexual orgy, just like the Romans and the Grecians, okay? Simple. So this is the representation of that pentacle, of the pentagram, right? It says the altar may be any flat object where the implements, the ritual are placed. The altar will usually be placed within 9 foot circle. This diagram shows the marble or the granite slab. The pentagram in the center is etched into the slab. Human or animal blood is poured into the etching. Other symbols may be carved into the slab as characteristics to each group. Implements that would be placed on the altar would include atom, chalice, candles, parchments, cauldron, books of shadows, and other items as characteristics for each group. Evil. Okay, so next it brings me to the like witchcraft that's practiced, of another form of witchcraft that is practiced in today's modern society called spiritismo. Okay, spiritismo is a term used in Latin America and the Caribbean to refer to a popular belief that involved less evolved spirits can affect health, luck, and other aspects of human life. As you can see, this is what they do in spiritismo, right? This is just pure demonic. They deal with crystals and balls and vice versa. Okay, so it says that a tenet of spiritismo is they believe in a supreme God who is the omnipotent creator of the universe. That's a lie, because if they did, they wouldn't be doing this, because he says not to do this. It's just retarded. Like, that's that damage control stuff. Spiritualists believe these things can influence corporeal world in various ways that the spirita in turn can influence the actions of the spirits. Spiritismo have never had a single leader nor central of practice, and such its practice varies greatly between individuals and groups. In all cases, spiritismo has observed various practice from other religious and spiritual practice endemic to Latin America and the Caribbean, such as the Roman Catholicism. Wow, that's crazy. Next, it says, an example of the syncretism is a magical spell that involves asking Saint Martha to exert one's will over that of another person by burning a specially prepared candle, saying certain prayers, and wearing an amulet tied with a red ribbon around one's waist. Wow. Okay, so next it says, because of this populist rejection of the Spanish hegemony and spiritualism, condemnation by the colonial Catholic Church. That's a walking contradiction, because you can see that right here. It says, from other religious and spiritual practice endemic to Latin America and the Caribbean, such as Roman Catholicism. So they practice this. Roman incorporate this spiritismo into their culture. So why is it saying over here that they reject it? Okay, they condemn this. That's a damn lie. See, that's that witchcraft I told you about. Originally brought to the country from Puerto Ricans studying in Europe, the white table spiritismo practiced by the upper class would help evolve a more creolized indigenous spiritismo among the underclass. Okay, researchers Martha Monreal Vega suggests Puerto Rican spiritismo became popular as a way to mimic ancestors' venerations in Congo religion. Okay, I'm just baffled. As you can see, these are the images, all right, of what that round table looks like when they're doing their enchantments and conjuring spirits. Okay, still goes on, right? These people are Satan's children, literally. Okay. All right, the supportive videos that I have to show you guys will start with Exhibit A. Look at that. That's just crazy. Like, and they think it's all cool, because this is literally what they believe in. Right? They can't help it but to be like this. Okay, next we have this. Wow. What a demon. And these are the ones that Christ is coming to save, bro. These are the people that need salvation. Let them ask their father, the devil. Christ is not dealing with them. They have the audacity to ask for salvation, bro. Damn. The pride. Look at that. His father or whoever, his guardian, is edging him, right? It's encouraging him to continue in demonic activity. You know? The spirit realm is real, man. These people playing with fire and they don't, I believe that they do know what's going on, but they just can't help it but to be Satan. They just can't help it. Okay? Look at that. Pride. Finished, bro. All right. So we have more Edomites doing their juju. And God gives them these reprobate minds to think that they're actually in control. Little do they know that he's allowed the left-hand side of the angels to work with them so that when his son comes back, there's perfect execution. Because all of this, everything that they're doing, they're going to be held accountable in the day of judgment. Verbatim. Thus said the Lord. So this is a demonic possessed street performer by the name of Jay Yoti. Okay, and I want you guys to just see the type of demonic energy this guy is on. Already got the pagan cross, just people got that on their necks, thinking it's for Christ. Little do they know that this is who they're honoring. The devil himself, Esau Edom. You got the stick floating, All right, this guy has just sold. He sold his soul a long time ago when he was young, like that little boy that was moving that cup. That's when they start, bro. They start that little. This shit is not new to them. Look at that, right? They sacrificed their whole life towards this shit. All they know is to be demonic. It's that simple. They don't know any other way. They don't know how. They're void of correction. Thus, that's why they have to get extinct. Thus said the Lord. Because this type of behavior is not going to be tolerated in the kingdom of heaven. Look at this. Look at this. Look at his other Edomite friends around him, just like, amping this shit up. Wow, it's so cool, man. Like, all of these people are going to be held guilty in the day of judgment. Thus said the Lord. Weeping and gashing of teeth. And Israel, you want to follow these people? You want to follow them? Damn. In the lake of fire you will be in, saying, damn. That's your end. Okay? He's not doing this by himself. He's operating with forces. Okay? It's that simple. All right, last but not least, this is dumb. All right? Promoting this shit to the masses. See that? See that? This guy's operating with the devil. Did you see how his eyes changed colors before he touched it? To let you know that he's not operating by his own self-will. All right? Okay. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 14 to 15 reads, God pronounces judgment. Then the Lord said to the snake, you will be punished for this. You alone of all the animals must bear this curse. From now on, you will crawl on your belly and you will have to eat dust as long as you live. I will make you and the woman hate each other. Her offspring and yours will also be enemies. Her offsprings will crush your head and you will bite her offspring's heel. So this is going into a symbolic allegory or analogy of Jacob and Esau, okay? Right? Esau, you're the seed of Satan, right? And Jacob, with the seed of Yahweh. It's that simple. John chapter 8, verse 44 reads, this is when Christ is talking to the sellout Pharisees, right? That have sold out to the Romans. But this can also be applied and applicable to the so-called, Edomites today. You are of your father, the devil. The desires of your father you want to do. He was a murderer from the beginning, right? Esau's blessing was a sword, and does not stand in the truth because there's no truth in him. When he speaks a lie. When he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own resource. He's a liar and a father of it. Okay? So that brings me to this next segment called Great Greece plus Rome equals America equals pagan. The exhibit A is from a document that I gathered called The Social Cohesion in the Bohemian Grove, the Power Elite at Summer Camp. In 1974, Harper Row published a book that I wrote about the Bohemian Grove entitled Bohemian Grove and Other Retreats, a study of the ruling class cohesiveness. Most of what follows the web page is a reworking of the most interesting parts of the book, but the complete text is also available. The Bohemian Grove is a 2,700-acre virgin redwood grove in Northern California, 75 miles north of San Francisco, where the rich, the powerful, and their entourage visits with each others during the last 2 weeks of July while camping out in the cabins and tents. Okay? It's an elk club for the rich, a fraternity party in the woods, a Boy Scout camp for old guys, complete with initiation ceremonies and a toman animal. The owl is owned by the Bohemian Grove, which is found in San Francisco in 1972. The Bohemians started going to their little retreat shortly after the club was founded. It became a big time by the 1800s, and it continues today. So this is that owl, that effigy that they burn, as it says it right here, complete with an initiation ceremony and a toman animal, the owl. Okay, that's it right here. And they burn this up, showing you that these are the same people. These are the same people in Rome, Greece. They're back on this earth again. Okay, nothing has changed. The prominent members, right? The first U.S. president to be a part of the Bohemian Grove was Rutherford B. Hayes, who was a member in 1880. He was followed by Chester A. Arthur in 1881, Grover Cleveland in 1887, Benjamin Harrison in 1889, William McKinley in 1896, Theodore Roosevelt in 1901, William Howard Taft in 1911, Warren G. Harding in 1920, Calvin Coolidge in 1922, Herbert Hoover in 1940, Harriet S. Truman in 1947. Like, these people are demons. Damn. Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1950, Richard Nixon in 1953, Gerald Ford in 1957, Ronald Reagan in 1967, Gerald H. Bush in 1981, George W. Bush in 1991. This is insanity. Okay? All right. The biblical accounts of what Deuteronomy says about this type of behavior, right, reads in chapter 18, verse 9 to 12. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his daughter or his son to pass through the fire, or to use divination, or observers of times, or enchanters, or a witch, or a charmer, or consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or necromancer. For all that do this are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of this abomination, the Lord thy God does drive them out from before thee. Great. It's that simple. So the crimes towards YASHARALLA, you can find this in my previous video called Dear Babylon, Your Hegemony is Dead. So the second heathen nation that I would like to dissect is Ishmael, which are the modern day Arabs today. With that being said, just like Edom, they are also jealous of the birthright, that was derived from Father Isaac towards his son Jacob, given right, from Abraham. So Abraham exiled Ishmael and gave the blessing to Isaac, and Isaac then gave the blessing to Jacob and not Esau. So they're just as butthurt, just as Esau. So the origins of these so-called people can be found in Genesis chapter 16, verse 11 and 12. And it reads, And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and thou shalt bear a son, and thou shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard thy affliction, and he will be a wild man. That's very important on the characteristics of these people today. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brothers. Genesis chapter 17, verse 19 to 21 reads, And Yahweh said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant, not with Ishmael, the covenant is with Isaac, with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. His seed is Jacob, the progenitor of the 12 tribes of Israel. And as for his Ishmael, I have heard thee, behold, I have blessed him, and I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation, which has already happened, right? You have like places like Dubai and the Emirates and Arab nations. Yeah, they're rich in oil. Yeah, they already had their blessing. Okay. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. Genesis chapter 25, verse 13 to 17 reads, And these are the names of the son of Ishmael, by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, and Kedar, and Adibel, and Mibsam, and Misham, and Duma, and Massa, and Hadar, and Tima, Jetor, Napish, and Kidima. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns and by their castles, 12 princesses according to their nation. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years, and he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. So this is going into the blessing that was alluded here in Genesis, okay, with Ishmael. Okay, all right, about being a great nation and vice versa. So this brings me to the aspect of their religion, right, aka Islam. It's also known as Iraq. It's a regurgitation of the Holy Bible, and it promotes pedophilia. Proof: the Quran is quoting the Torah. In Surah chapter 3, verse 3 reads, He has set down upon you, Muhammad, the book in the truth, confirming what was before it, and he has revealed the Torah and the gospel. The gospel comes from the Holy Bible and not the Quran. The Bible supersedes the Torah. With that being said, you can find this in Surah chapter 2, verse 21, and it reads, O children of Israel, remember my favor, which I have bestowed upon you, and that I preferred you over the world. So even in their own Quran is giving reverence towards the children of Israel. Next is Allah, the devil, walking contradiction. In Surah chapter 3, verse 53 to 54 reads, Our Lord, we believe in the commandment you have revealed, and we obey the messenger. Make us, then, one of those who bear witness to the truth. Then they schemed against the Messiah, and Allah countered their schemes by schemes of his own. Allah is the best schemer. Let's keep reading. Surah chapter 8, verse 30 reads, And recall how those who disbelieve schemes against you to take you captive or kill you or drive you away. They schemed, and Allah did also scheme. Allah is the best of those who scheme. So now, who's the greatest deceiver? It reads here, the great deceiver may refer to Satan, an embodiment of the antagonism in the Abrahamic belief. The Quran openly states many times that Allah is the best deceiver. The Arabic word used here is markir, coming from the root with the word mark, meaning deception. All right, so now the supporting images slash videos I would like to demonstrate to the viewers goes back to the pedophilia, lust, and I guess traditions that the Quran promotes. So I'd like to play this.
مساء الخير.
مساء النور.
شو اسمك؟
محاسن.
قديش عمرك؟
هلا 10.
هلا عمرك 10 سنوات؟ بتروحي على المدرسة؟
لا.
She's 10 years old, by the way.
انت بأي صف؟
أنا ثالث.
مين طلعك من المدرسة؟
خطيبي أحمد.
انت مخطوبة؟
She says her fiance gets her out of school. The guy asks her, are you engaged?
قدك؟
And she says
لا.
yes.
أحمد كبير أو صغير؟
طويل.
And that's the guy she's engaged to.
مين بتكون محاسن؟
خطيبتي.
قديش عمرك أحمد؟
أنا 25 سنة.
عمرك
Heathen,
25 سنة.
one-on-one
ومحاسن
behavior.
عمرها 10 سنين. قديش
He's
كان عمرك لما تعرفت
25
عليها؟
and she's 10.
شي 8 سنين.
كان عمرها 8 سنين لما تعرفت عليها.
يعني هلا فيك تقول فايتة بال 11.
She was 8 years old when they met.
كيف تعرفت عليها؟
يعني في قربة بيناتنا.
The host is just a called.
الزواج أين تم؟
الزواج بس لتكبر شوي.
So basically
يعني
he's
أنت.
grooming her.
شي سنة بس تصير هيك شوي كبيرة بالدرجة.
شو بيختلف من هلا عمرها 10 سنين لبعد سنة؟ شو ممكن يختلف؟
يختلف كثير.
شو لفتك أحمد بطفلة عمرها 10 سنوات؟
أنا بيكفيني مربية على إيدي وما بدي فلتة من إيدي.
شو يعني
It's
تربية
the
عليك؟
so-called religion.
إنه بيكفي إنه أنا داير عليها ودير بالي عليها.
That's what drove him
وحابة
towards her.
وحبتني ومتفقين مع بعض يعني على كل شيء.
طفلة عمرها 10 سنوات قاصر جسديا شو لفتك فيها؟
أنا صار لي 3 سنين معها، عرفت علي كيف؟ حبيتها يعني حبتني.
سؤال، تعرف الزواج هي علاقة بين رجل ومرأة، هو تناغم فكري، تناغم عاطفي، ولكن أيضا علاقة جسدية وتناغم وانجذاب جسدي. شو اللي جذبك بطفل قاصر عمرها 10 سنوات؟
يعني برجع بقول لك قلت لك وحارجع اقول لك حبيتها وطلبتها من ابوها لانه انا ما تاخذني بالكلمه الجيل هلا كله ما دخل بعقلي.
برجع بسأل سؤال، شو اللي بيلفت رجل راشد بجسد طفلة لم يكتمل نموه بعد؟ جسد طفلة ما في أي معلم أنثوي عن هذه الطفلة، عن كل الأطفال بهالعمر.
Yep. All right. To prove this, this is going into the so-called Prophet Muhammad, right, in the Quran. This is an action that took place, and it basically says the preponderance of the classic sources converge of Aisha being 6 or 7 years old at the time of her marriage and 9 at the time of the consummation. Her age has become a source of ideological friction in modern times. Aisha had an important role in the early Islamic history, both during Muhammad's life and after his death. So this was the little girl Muhammad made his wife at the age of 9, but they met at when she was 6 or 7. So this is where they get their philosophy from. That's why, the guy in the previous video didn't find any fault in his behavior. So now I'm jumping towards the crime, right, towards YASHARALLA. Islam, just like Christianity, equals a murderous cult. The history, incidentally, by the time the Hebrew Old Testament had been translated into Arabic, and the Arabs were rapturously pleased to read about their great ancestors in the story of the Hebrew patriarchs. This fact alone helped Muhammad to inspire in the Arab the feeling of nationalist and racial pride, because they had read in the Hebrew scriptures that Ishmael was to become a great nation. Muhammad masterminded the first stage of his revolution by undermining and discrediting prevailing established beliefs and customs and questioning other political, social, and religious institutions. Muhammad attacked merchants and rulers in Mecca who employed the well of Ishmael and Kaaba temple for monetary gain.
Not only did he speak out against idolatry, but also against gambling and drunkenness, because he spoke against the wine enterprise in the city of Taif. Muhammad was compelled to leave the city. When Muhammad returned to the city of Mecca, the opposition was intensified against him. A law was enacted that anybody who accepts Islam will be exiled. When the lenders of the city of Mecca were informed that Muhammad was gaining comforts in Yathrib, they conspired to assassinate him. The conspiracy motivated Muhammad to flee from Mecca to Yathrib the night of Muhammad's flight to Yathrib, later called Medina, later called Medina, the city of the prophets, is known as the Hegara, the flight. And then in this book called Babylon to Timbuktu, on page 48, it reads, the Prophet Muhammad adopted many principles and laws from the Jewish religion, right? First of all, the basic idea of monotheism, which is the belief in one God. The Jewish confession of the unity of God is Shema Israel, Adonai, Elohim, Adonai. Hail Israel, the Lord our God is one. The Muhammad slogan is as follows: Allah, Allah, Ilah, Allah, Muhammad, Rasul, Allah. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the prophet of Allah. That's called plagiarism, okay? Muhammad adopted also the main details of the Jewish calendar, the Day of Atonement, right, which is so-called Ramadan that they do, the Sabbath inch of the Bible, and narratives from the Midrash, and many points of the ritual law. Incidentally, the Jews pray 3 times a day facing the city of Jerusalem, and the Muslims, the true believers, pray 5 times a day facing the city of Mecca. Trying his best, Muhammad sought to convert the Jews into his new religion. What type of asinine, backwards, backstabbing, contradicting? How are you going to steal from these people and try to convert them into your own plagiarized religion? That makes no damn sense. From the people you stole from. What? Make it make sense, bro. But to no avail, the Jews were adamant and restrained to change. The high esteem which the prophet held for the Jews was transformed to enmity, which just means hatred. And instead of allies, he looked upon them as competitors. Muhammad needed the confirmation of the influential Jews to validate his mission. As all upstarts need the backing of someone influential, Muhammad therefore turned against the Jews and became their tormentor. Okay, in page 50, same book, Babylon to Timbuktu. So it was with Muhammad, he had come to a point of no return. He became a religious extremist. In order to give his people a better life on a rapid scale, Muhammad came to the conclusion that all means of persuasion had been exhausted. The period of patience was past, and he was now determined to propagate his religion by the sword. That just means violence and death, okay? For he said, I, last of the prophets, I am sent with a sword. The sword is the key to heaven and hell. All who draw it in the name of the faith will be rewarded. Muhammad became a martial prophet, and the pagans and stubborn Jews became his victims. In the year 627, the Battle of the Foss occurred. The Jewish tribes were defeated by the armies of Muhammad. 700 Jews were gathered in the marketplace and offered the alternative, the Quran or the sword. But the devout Jews were accustomed to martyrdom. They did not hesitate in their choice. Muhammad carried out his bestial threat, executed the Jews, and the women were sold. Okay? For example, this is an article, I believe, from NPR or something like that. And it reads, the face of African slavery in Iran. Anthropologist Pedram has embarked on a new and controversial topic in the Iran studies, developing narrative of African slavery in Persia through the archive photography, interviews, and scattered texts. Here he curates his burgeoning collection. Okay, so I guess this is his article, right? And it says the African slave trade in the Persian Gulf began well before the Islamic period. Medieval accounts refer sporadically to slaves working as household servants, bodyguards, militiamen, sailors in the Persian Gulf, including what is today southern Iran. The practice lasted and evolved through many centuries. Iran's modern history, Africans were integral to the elite household. Black men were mostly eunuchs, which just means castrated, right? They basically cut off their ball sacks so they don't procreate, right? And, multiply, right? Working inside a king's harem and house, while black women were servants to the Iranian rulers, just like in the time of Egypt, right? Okay. Awesome. So this brings me to the third heathen nation, which is Moab/Ammon, which are modern day Chinese and Japanese and Asian people today. And their origins start from incest, can be found in Genesis chapter 19, verse 36 to 38. And it reads, "Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their fathers." This is the incest, okay? "And the first bare a son and called his name Moab. The same as the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son and called his name Ben-Amin," right? Which just means Ammon, translated to Ammon. "The same as the father of the children of Ammon unto this day." Their religion, Buddha idol, or Dalai Lama, both pagan. And I just want to show you some supporting images / videos of that action of their so-called, Dalai Lama, Pope or prophet, right, that they revere. So this is what he was doing.
Lama is apologizing for what he calls a playful moment, and we want to warn you that the details of what you're about to hear here might be considered graphic. The exchange involved a Tibetan spiritual leader kissing a young boy on the lips, and at one point he reportedly asked the child to suck on his tongue, which he stuck out. This is not video of that incident. Footage of the moment we're not showing you, by the way, has prompted backlash. This happened in February. But just today, an apology was issued when that video started to make the...
All right. This brings me to the next segment of that action being displayed. Okay, so here you guys go. See that? That's crazy, man. Yep. All right. So transitioning into their natural diet. This is the Moabites in their natural state, just like the Edomites. Here we go. Yep. Some rodents right there. Farm rodents.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to Untitled Cooking channel. Today we're gonna fry fish red in oil recipe. So let's enjoy with our cooking.
Clear violations to the statutes and commandments, but I digress. Out of everything, bro. Just because you use spice does not mean that's delicacy.
Chili and garlic. Key lamb juice.
And there we go. That shit looks so dry and just disgusting. It doesn't even look appealing. They're pretending to enjoy it. Finished, man. All right, next one I would like to play is this. It says more than 10% of Chinese people.
This is in Chongqing, China, a southwestern city known for its spicy hot pot. Someone has filmed 2 hotel employees recycling sewer oil from a garbage bin. According to Chinese media, on March 20th, the hotel in question responded to the incident saying that the women in the video were indeed employees of the hotel, but that their actions were not arranged by the hotel, and that the hotel didn't use the grease they recovered. Chongqing's Market Supervision Administration said that several local departments have jointly investigated the matter and ruled out the possibility that the hotel recycled the grease for catering purposes. The concept of sewer oil first appeared in China in 1998. China's outspoken media, the Southern Metropolis Daily, launched a series of investigative reports on underground mills refining peanut oil from waste grease during Consumer Day on March 15, 1998. Since then, the term sewer oil has taken firm root in the daily lives of Chinese people. On March 17, 2011, China Youth Daily published an article entitled "Rounding Up Sewer Oil," in which a professor found that the total annual demand for cooking oil in mainland China was about 22.5 million tons, but the actual production was less than 20 million tons. After investigating, he estimated that 2 to 3 million tons of waste grease flows back to the table in China each year. It means about 15% of restaurants in China use sewer oil at the time. The professor is now a member of the Teaching Steering Committee of Light Industry and Food Science in Higher Education Institutions of the Chinese Ministry of Education, and his findings carry a certain weight.
Alright. God forbid. Okay, so the crimes towards YASHARALLA. This example is called the magical Kunlun and the devil's slaves, right? Chinese possessions of dark-skinned people in Africa before 1500s. All right, so we're just going to read a couple segments over here. It says, the beginning of the Tang Dynasty, Arab traders brought a number of East African slaves to China. Although historians have studied the African slave trade extensively, particularly the export of West African slaves to America after 1500s, a much smaller body of research focused on the pre-modern East African slave trade, and fewer sources still mention black slaves in China. From the 8th to the 14th century, the Arabs controlled the vast slave trade, which stretched not only along the entire coast of East Africa and throughout the Arab world, but as far as east of China. Black slaves were just one of many commodities in the Arabs' large-scale maritime trade with China. So Ishmael and Moab were working together, which peaked during the Tang and Song dynasty from 1960 to 1275. Okay, the Zhong Tong Shang, former Tang dynasty, mentioned that the Arabs sent delegates to Chinese courts in 651, marking the first record official contact between the Chinese government and the Arab Caliphate. By the 9th century, a sizable community of Arabs lived in Gonzal, and the local residents could have seen African slaves on trading ships and in Arabs' homes. Okay. This brings me to the next article, The Forgotten History of African Slavery in China. And it reads right here. The first Africans arrived in China as a gift from King of Kalinga in Java to the Tang Emperor in 1813 AD. These young boys and girls were treated as exotic ornaments, no different from the rhinoceros and other animals. They were presented alongside. The Chinese called them Zhengzi and referred to as Zanzibar, which at that time described the whole length of the Eastern African coastal region, including Madagascar. Nothing is known about the fate of these child slaves who disappeared from the historical records after a single brief mention. In later accounts, African slaves turned up as personal property of the Arab merchants residing in China. Port cities such as Gonzong, which housed a significant Arab community. The average Gonzong resident is likely to have encountered Africans as she went about her daily task. Eventually, wealthy Chinese also started demanding such slaves in large numbers.
This required a supply line beginning from East Africa, traversing the Indian Ocean, stopping in the Indian, and finally crossing Malaccan Straits to reach the port cities of China. The journey took approximately 6 months, and shipwrecks were common. Many captives must have died along the way. Even those who made it to China alive could still perish suddenly while trying to acclimatize to the new environment. This sounds like the transatlantic slave trade, but I digress. Let's keep reading. As one Song dynasty government official observed, if in captivity they are fed cooked food, after several days they get diarrhea. For this reason, they sometimes fall ill and die. Sounds like the transatlantic slave trade, but I digress. Although the chronicler attributed these deaths to change in diet, a cumulative effect of disease and ill treatments on the sea voyage would have taken toll as well. If they do not die, one can keep them, the chronicler writes. The implication is clear. They were solely regarded as cattle. This sounds so similar to the transatlantic slave trade, but I digress. You see, all the heathens have taken a part, right, in the destruction of Israel, just as Psalms 83 alluded, okay? The roles of slaves. The Chinese taught the Africans had immense physical strength, and so slaves were mainly forced to engage in hard labor, such as building the Great Wall of China, such as transporting heavy goods on their backs and carrying out ship repairs and dock work. Some also served as gate attendants to the rich owners, perhaps functioning as an unusual living decoration to impress visitors. Aside from the few descriptions, we know nothing about their daily lives, but it's highly likely that they led a harsh existence. As the scholar Don J. White points out, the blacks of pre-modern China, there are no records of Chinese owners questioning the morality of enslavement, freeing their slaves, or inquiring into the physical well-being. This is especially striking when one considers that record keeping was deeply embedded in the culture, especially if an event was out of the ordinary. Watts concludes that the Chinese system of enslavement of Africans was just as oppressive and cruel as the slavery in the 19th century United States. There we go. Attitudes towards dark skin. What does that say? The callousness towards Africans can be traced back to traditional Chinese thinking about complexion. Early Chinese texts refer to the darker skinned neighbors to the south, such as the Malays and Khmers and the Kunlun, to the mark of their physical difference from the Chinese. Not only did the Kunlun look different, but they were also thought to be savage, stubborn barbarians, in contrast to the civilized, virtuous, and superior Chinese. As the numbers of Africans in China increased, they too came to be described as Kunlun. Other names were also applied to them by their owners, such as devil slaves, wild men. Look at the projection. Moab, you're gonna pay. To the Chinese, these labels reflect the inferior characteristics that justify their enslavement as evidence of the inferiority. Their simple natures, alien passions, and inability to speak the human tongue, Chinese language that is, are often cited in description. The Confucian worldwide, with its streets on the hierarchy and the natural order, African slaves were always outside the realm of civilization and so could never attain full human status. So horrible. Alright, so the videos to corroborate and embody this article will be the first one I'd like to play for the viewers. This is actually
nasty detergent. Why y'all love cats so much, bro? I just want to know. Y'all eat them so bad. Y'all love them so much that y'all eat them.
改变只是一颗俏皮洗衣溶珠，俏皮全国招生热线。
The next one is, I believe, some athletes getting off a sports bus or something like that for like a game, and just hear the welcoming entourage that they receive from the crowd. Moab, you're finished.
Fuck you!
Look at that. Esau touched you guys real well, huh? All right.
So the next heathen nation that I would like to dissect is Elam. Very, very much. Thank you. These are the modern day Indians today. With that being said, the origins can be found in Genesis chapter 10, verse 22, and it reads, the children of Shem, Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. Their religion is Hindu, aka animal worship equals paganism. The supporting images and videos I'd like to share with the viewers is this first one.
Country rich in culture and tradition. And although India is changing, one thing remains the same. The cow is sacred. And believe it or not, the cow is so revered here that men and women actually coat their heads and faces with cow urine. For the Hindus of northern India,
this is real.
The cow is not a typical farm animal. These bovine represent motherhood, and their milk sustains and nourishes them. But in this case, it's not the milk these men and women are waiting for. It's the urine. Known as a sacred gift from the cow, the urine is commonly sprinkled in the home to protect the surroundings.
We sprinkle for purify our house and keep away evils.
But this unusual practice doesn't stop there. These men actually rub cow urine into their hair. Some even splash it right on their face.
I begin my day with splashing some of it in my eyes, my head, and consuming a little. It is one of the finest things one can have.
Thank you very much.
This extreme form of worshiping is not a passing fad. It's been around for centuries.
I have been consuming the cow urine for many years today.
Surprisingly, cow urine is even used by residents as a form of medical treatment. Locals believe it cures anything from liver disease to obesity and cancer.
Cap. All right. You see the type of bullshit that we have to tolerate as Israelites on this demonic earth. But the next segment is, I believe, Indian Cow Dung Festival. This is so they kind of, revere, exonerate these animals as like, so-called gods, right? And they go so far to play with cow shit, as you guys are going to view in the next exhibit. Yep. These are the nations that are ruling over YASHARALLA.
ಅದಲ್ಲದೆ ಈ ಸಗಣಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರತೀತಿ ಒಂದು ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಏನಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಚರ್ಮ ರೋಗಗಳಾಗಲಿ ವ್ಯಾಧಿಗಳಾಗಲಿ ಮನುಷ್ಯನಿಗಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಸಗಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಆಟ ಆಡಿ ಹೋದಾಗ ಅವ್ರು ಗುಣವಾಗಿರೋದು ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಪಕ್ಕದ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಿಂದ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಮೂಲದಿಂದೆಲ್ಲ ಈ ಊರಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಈ ಹಬ್ಬದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಸಂತೋಷ ಪಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ.
So you guys get that cross on his neck. Oh, we got to go back real quick. See that big ass
ಊರಿಗೆ
cross.
ಬಂದು ಈ ಹಬ್ಬದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಸಂತೋಷ ಪಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ.
You see? Christianity. There you go. There you have it. Yep. Spread to all the four corners of this earth. Paganism. Through and through. Yep. It's just normal to them. It's just abomination. Yep. Delivered trucks load of cow shit to play with. Man. This is asinine. That's Elon for you, okay? In his natural state. So there are crimes towards YASHARALLA. We can transition to this tribe called the Siddhi from India, aka the Untouchables, right? So who are the Siddhis, right? The Siddhis are also known as Shadid Siddhi, or ethnic minority group inhabiting India and Pakistan. They are primarily descendant of the Bantu people of Zing, coast of Southeast Africa, Ethiopia, most who came to the Indian subcontinent through the Arab slave trade. Others arrived as merchant sailors, indentured servants, and mercenaries. City population is currently estimated at 300,000 individuals, right? With Karnataka. I'm not gonna even try, but anyways, you get the point. These CDs are so-called Israelites today that were brought through this expansion slave trade era, right? When the so-called I want to say the Arab slave trade was happening in the Eastern Hemisphere. Yeah, the Elamites had a conspired with the so-called Ishmaelites, and they had this kind of coalition thing going on where they got people from the Bantu region, western coast of Africa, where that's where the majority of the Israelites were, and they brought them to the subcontinent of India. Okay, awesome. Some more evidence to prove this fact. And it reads, although they still look African, cities have completely and wonderfully assimilated Indian culture, traditions, and language. They are Indian citizens, but often the rest of India has a hard time believing they are so. The reason why is because they don't have the distinct phenotypes that a regular, Indian from that region would share, right? For example, it says, despite such glaring vestiges, meaning like skin, phenotype, city history has been startlingly erased throughout India today. The system by government indifference and ridicule at the hands of fellow citizens, cities lead marginalized lives while aspiring for a fighting chance at better prospects. Largely working as farmers and manual laborers, cities lack sustainable work opportunities, and due to the poverty, education cannot be a top priority either. Sports is one of the few options that can offer them an escape. This sounds very ironic, because it sounds like the so-called Black Americans over here in the Western Hemisphere, so-called Babylon 2.0 USA, fall in the same category, right? Where they have to be relegated to like sports, and that's the only way out of poverty. Okay, so let's look at the distinct phenotypes of these people. This is what they look in that area of India. You can tell why a lot of Indians find it hard, or people outside of this region find it hard believing that they're Indians, because you can tell they have like, woolly, curly hair, a different oral, and prominent features, right? Their nose and their lips are much full compared to a normal Indian. Next exhibit, you can see darker, woolly hair, all that. Just happy people. Even in the midst of poverty, like, they're just still happy, right? Because that's what YASHARALLA is. We're just, we have the Spirit of God dwelling in us. With that being said, the next video is going into the types of norms and culture that these people have been assimilated into, right? And as you can see in behind this male speaking, you can see all the mass indoctrination of the Portuguese who brought them, right, by the way of sub-Saharan slave trade, with the Elamites and stuff. They indoctrinated them with so-called Christianity and, paganism and, so-called white supremacy. And, it's taken a toll and destroyed the hopes and the aspirations of these people, right? And that's what also has occurred on the Western Hemisphere of Nigeria and also, USA, aka Babylon 2.0. So let's borrow this video. Right?
Art says Indian, mine says African.
You see, when he mentioned his heart says Indian, but his mind says Africa or vice versa, this is the confusion that has been, sown or just, plastered on the children of Israel, right? Being confused, not knowing where they come from, not having a sense of history or direction, and they're just left out to fend for themselves, right? And nobody's there to help them. No other nation. The nations are actually prospering from them, right? From their labor, from their cheap labor, and just any entertainment factors. It's the same dynamic that's transpiring all over the world. So let's continue.
कम करेंगे अभी फिर एक महीने के बाद वापस जाएगी अफ्रीका से हम हिंदी नहीं जानते हैं लेकिन थोड़ा सा
Over the years, these prejudices have worked to further alienate the Siddhis.
So a Siddhi mother.
There you go. That is a real so-called Elamite Indian. Thank you very, very much. You see how, just his features are very, very distinct from set called, people who were brought there to do indentured servants and vice versa.
When the child dies for some reason, wails for days that you come back as a Siddhi.
That's
Don't
true.
be born into another caste or community or into another religion or faith. You will be reborn as a Siddhi. That's the way you will get the best of the world.
Consequently, the Siddhis have distanced themselves from the larger society by establishing independent communities in the remote areas like Gardoli village.
The Siddhi would be below the untouchables. In other words, in terms of social structure, they are at the bottom of the pile. And for that
just like
reason,
Israelites everywhere in the world.
they would have lots of problems.
David Bastion is the grandson to the village headman. He recently dropped out of an engineering class in Tamil Nadu due to lack of money.
So I used to think that in Africa so many people like us, they are in good positions. But in our India there is nobody like that. All are farmers.
He would have been in school, but he's tilling the family land. Forget that they still have no title deeds. He may not know what the future holds for him, but he's aware his ancestors originally came from Africa.
British used to bring people to work. So we think that we came from them. They bought us for working, and they went back. So they forgot to carry us. So they left us here.
The Siddhis have been branded as incapable of intellectual endeavors, only talented in music and sports. Bosco Kawesi, a Ugandan who interacted with the Siddhis while studying in India, is president of Siddhi Educational Welfare Society, an NGO that empowers the Siddhis in the area of education.
When I came to do my case study, I came to know that not even a single person was educated. Majority were just drop out from 3rd and 4th standard in the local schools. And they were just working in rich men's, like girls, housemaids, the rest of the people, coolie workers. So that touched me a lot.
The forgotten tribe may be poor, but their incredible ability to keep their most precious resource, optimism, is remarkable, to say the least.
When I completed my 10th standard, I never thought that I would go further. I was really stuck up with my studies, but I got some assistance from here and there, and I was able to complete my +1, +2. Once I graduated, I thought that I will not give up until I finish my master's.
Just 8 years ago, the Indian government put Siddhis under scheduled tribes so as to empower them constitutionally. Most of these policies remain in paper.
They are trying their level best to send something to develop people, but in between there is system until it won't reach.
Yeah, the government of India actually has done a lot, and but what I would like them to do is to try and make the reservation realistic. In the sense, for example, for professional courses, they always require you to pay. First you and then claim. If I don't have money, how I can pay?
Yep, there you have it. So the next segment is showing you some attributes and tendencies of the entertainment aspect, right, of the children of Israel. Like in Joshua, right, it talked about the loud noise that Moses and Joshua heard. I believe this is in I want to say Deuteronomy or it's in one of the first 5 books, right? Where Joshua and Moses stand in. This is when Moses was about to give up his leadership seats, and Joshua was going to, be his successor, right? But anyways, Joshua and Moses were talking, and I believe Joshua said unto Moses, like, where's this loud noise? It sounds like war music or tribal, tempo, like this beats, they were, because he heard drums and instruments being played, and it reminded him of war music. And I believe Moses told Joshua, like, oh, it's just having a party down there, right? I think during the time they were in the wilderness, right? So this video is going to be basically showing you that representation of the spirit that still descends on these people to this very day. So here we go.
It could be a village anywhere in Africa. Locals celebrating with their centuries-old music and dance. But Jambur is 1,000,000 miles from the continent, and these apparent Africans are in fact Indians, whose ancestors have lived here in Gujarat state for up to 1,000 years. Known as Siddhis, this tribe of African descent retains few links with its mysterious past. They know nothing of how or why their forefathers came here, but there is one thing that ties them to their unique heritage.
In our musical performances, we are like one. We all have the same musical style. It's also the same when we dance.
Music and physical features are the few clues that anthropologists have to trace the Siddhis. Some believe their forefathers were labourers from modern-day Kenya and Uganda, who were brought to India on Arab slave ships between the 10th and 14th century.
All the Arab traders or raiders, either way,
see that?
had to bring lot of these slaves, and at convenient places they were given their freedom when the nearest landmass came.
Anthropologists believe there are up to 15,000 Siddhis living along India's west coast. While they have adopted the local culture, most live in abject poverty, even compared to other Indians. Their reluctance to integrate with mainstream communities means they are often left out of development.
And that's key. She says they're reluctant to integrate with mainstream communities. That just shows you the separatist spirit, right, that Yahweh has bestowed on the children of Israel to remain separate indeed. All right?
We have a lot to worry about.
Okay. Awesome. And that brings me to the fourth nation, the fourth pagan nation that I would like to dissect in the name of Ham, which are so-called modern-day Africans today, like the actual real indigenous Nilotic people of that land of Africa. Okay? The origins can be found in Genesis chapter 10, verse 6, and it reads, "And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan." Religions, idols, aka Marduk, the Hamite main god of Babylon, equals pagan. Okay, so there were the Babylonians, there were the Egyptians. Who else were there again? The Canaanites, Jebusites, Hittites, and all these people, right? That's who they were in the biblical times. So supporting images I'd like to show is the first one. Says in 1961, the youngest son of former Vice President Nelson Rockefeller, Michael Rockefeller, went missing while traveling through Netherland, New Guinea. He was last seen when he was trading canoe capsized as he was rowing through a part of the country known as the Cannibal Coast. It was revealed that the Asmats, a vicious tribe who inhabited the area, captured, beheaded, and ate Michael. There you go, Edomite. You met your faith, the Hamites, very provocative people, right? Have very wild in nature, beast-like. Okay, all right. And Exodus chapter 11, verse 7 says, "But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord does put a difference between the Egyptian and Israel." Okay, so this goes back to all these so-called critics and so-called uneducated fools that believe that all black people are the same. In this slide, I'm going to attempt to disprove, discount, and eliminate this rhetoric. Okay, so we're going to start with this first exhibit, right? This is the Hamites, right? This is what they do. They like to mutilate themselves, right? Just like in ancient Egypt, the tattooing, the over exaggeration of piercing, as you can see the gauges in the ear, the mouth, and vice versa. As you can see the tattooing, right? This is actually a form of idol worship, and so-called America, the Egypt 2.0, has embraced this culture as well, right? The tattooing, they get it from these people, right? These are the first pioneers of this type of characteristics, right, and behavior. And here we go again. Just, pagan Hamite behavior.
He has done it.
Rinsing his head with cow piss.
Daniel has done it.
Yep. So all black people are not the fucking same because Israel doesn't do this stupid shit. All right, there you go. And it's funny too. He has his name Daniel. Find that very ironic. Next exhibit, right, playing with an animal's genital, right, normal heathen behavior. You can see like just wild, barbaric actions. Further going down to, more mutilation, right? You can see that's a female Hamite of an indigenous tribe, and her offspring also mutilated. You can see his lip has been deformed, right? This is what they call art, and this is like their fashion statement, I guess, right? You can see that haircut. Like, what are those? Like, what do you have? Like, bro, what? Like, they took a whole blade to his head, man. Messed him up. No edge up, no line finished. Anyways, we have more behavior, aspect of these people, right? They like to get pissed on the head. I guess that's heathen custom, but
To stay clean, the Mundaris squat under streams of cow's urine, since they see it as a natural antiseptic to fight and avoid infections. The hair turns orange after it comes into contact with the urine. It is a color that they like, and it suits it well. They say that this, in addition to looking good, serves as an antiseptic and protects them from the scorching heat. For them, cows are the most spoiled animals, since they see them as a member of the family. Something curious.
So
to stay clean, the Mundaris squat
I don't know what it is, man. It's mental. Awesome. So the difference between Israel and Ham. Note, we do not fucking descend from Hamites. Diabolical and envious Edomites made that whole story up to justify their involvement in the slave trade. And this is some supporting article by Tony Martin, The Jewish Onslaught, which are so-called Caucasian people that are pretending to be from the tribe of Judah, but are indeed the synagogue of Satan. Therefore, a commentary of his book. This was an idea that I rejected because there's a great deal of evidence to show that white racism really emerged in the West in an effort to justify race-based slavery. Christianity and science were perverted in order to justify race-based slavery. We know Africans moved throughout to Europe and were not discriminated against based upon race. There are African popes, and the Greeks went to Africa to learn from Africa's was acknowledged as being black. Indeed, the concept of race is only a few hundred years old. That said, I was recently looking for work of Professor Tony Martin. I found a video new to me in which he describes the curse of Ham, which appears in the Babylonian Talmud, which was written in the 6th century AD. I was previously aware of the Ham myth, because it's a myth, it's not real, okay, dummies. But I can see where one would take this as the start of the white racism. Still, it does not predate slavery, and there's no indignation that very many people, other than the handful of Jews running around, were aware of or practiced white racism because of it, okay? So, some supporting academic scholarship. This is from the Zondervan Compact Dictionary Bible, and it reads, Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, okay, right? Not the Negroes, but Egyptians, Ethiopians, Lebanese, Canaanites, and vice versa, according to the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, okay? So in this image, I would just like to, ask the viewers a quick question. Based on these two individuals right now, I just want you to just, in your mind, just guess who's a Hamite and who's an Israelite. If you guess the right as a Hamite and the left as an Israelite, you are correct. That's Michael Jordan, Israelite, and that's Mutombo, I think so. And he's a Hamite, okay? And I just want to show you some phenotype distinctions as we keep progressing. So this is from the book called The Black Image in White Mind by George M. Fredrickson in 1934. Morton pointed out that both carnal and archaeological evidence showed that the Egyptians were not Negroes, and that, in fact, blacks had been relegated to the same servile position in ancient Egypt as in modern America. So this is a video of Tony Martin establishing the confusion that these so-called Caucasians have, propagated and misinformed the world by using the so-called Hamitic myth, by saying that Michael Jordan and Bobo come from the same nation, okay? You have to keep in mind, before so-called racism was invented by these so-called Caucasian devils, right? Everybody on the earth pretty much was melanated, right? It was ranged from very, very dark skin, just like the Compact Dictionary said, to very, very light brown, or even, light skin, vice versa. I don't know. But they had very, very dark to very, very light brown, okay? Before these Caucasian demons came on the scene, okay? All Noah's sons were dark individuals. So Noah can have a Caucasian son and then a full dark-skinned son, but Noah was a Caucasian. How can a Caucasian bring forth a melanated son? That makes no damn sense. You guys are recessive. There's no way you can produce a dominant phenotype, okay? It doesn't make sense. But Tony Martin goes to emphasize this talking point.
It seems to me that Jewish involvement in that transatlantic slave trade precedes by many, many years, perhaps by 1,000 years, the actual beginnings of the transatlantic slave trade. And let me explain. It seems to me that the most important theoretical underpinning for that transatlantic slave trade was what has come to be known in many quarters as the Hamitic myth. Some people call it the curse of Ham story. When the slave trade developed, beginning in 1441 and for hundreds of years thereafter, people who prosecuted that trade looked around for intellectual justification, for rationalizations, for pretexts, if you will, And a variety of pretexts were advanced to justify the slave trade, to allow people to sleep well at night, for their consciences to be clear. One justification was that Africans were heathens. They weren't Christian, they were heathens, and therefore it was all right to enslave heathens. It would not be all right to enslave one's Christian brother, but it would be okay. It would be morally justifiable to enslave a heathen. That was one kind of rationale that was advanced to justify the slave trade. Another rationale was that Africans were less than human. Africans were devoid of reason, could not reason, were a subspecies of creature. They weren't human, and therefore,
and that's called projecting.
Whereas there might have been some moral opprobrium attached.
Because Esau is an insecure bastard that has no heritage, no custom, doesn't have, bunch all the heathens up together. They're all the same, but Esau is the top chief, right? An insecure bastard and the most degenerate baseman, caveman on planet Earth. That he was created so that God can show his wrath through him. And extinction is promised to his race. Thus said Yahweh.
To enslaving one's fellow human beings. In the case of Africans, since they weren't quite human, that kind of treatment of Africans was okay. The most important, however, of all of these rationales that was advanced to try to justify the slave trade was the question of this Hamitic myth. That is the notion that Africans were cursed by God himself, that Africans had been cursed by God.
That's a damn lie. And I also want to add on this fact that also Esau, stupid ass, has given or proclaimed the notion that blacks were selling other blacks, right? That we didn't do it to you guys did it to yourself. Bullshit, okay? The so-called Hamites were selling the so-called Negroes who were Israelites from the tribe of Judah. They don't want to tell you that, but we're going to figure it out during the progression of this videos. Esau, we have your number. Your end is near.
God had decreed in his wisdom a very long time ago that Africans...
And also, God didn't curse Ham, dumbass. He cursed Cain, Ham's offsprings, his children, okay? It wasn't Ham, it was Cain. And Cain was just supposed to be a servant towards the children of Israel. And that prophecy has already been fulfilled, dumbass. But anyways, let's keep going.
Would be forever the hewers of wood and the drawers of water for other races.
All right. Easy. So now we're going to go to the distinct phenotypes, like I alluded earlier, right? From the Michael Jordan and the Matumbo, or whatever, like comparison. Okay, so this is the first group of people that I would like to go into. They're the Igbos from the western coast of Africa. As you can see, right, Israelites indeed, right? Whole beautiful family. We've got the woman, right? Israelite indeed. Her name is Adeze. Next, we have this woman. You see, we range from different colors, very light, very dark brown, vice versa. Okay. And then we have next exhibit. The Yoruba people from the western coast of Africa as well. As you can see, right, beautiful indeed, Israelites. Not damn fucking Hamites, but, all right, family. And last but not least, the so-called Negroes from the Western Hemisphere of Africa, right? This is like a amalgamation of both tribes, right? Yoruba and Igbo, but predominantly, majority of them come from the Igbo tribe, right? This is Judah indeed. Beautiful indeed, right? Children of YASHARALLA. As you can see, right? Woolly hair, or that vibrant skin. You can see our sisters, beautiful, beautiful. Easy. And now, last but not least, we have a famous basketball player by the name of Kevin Durant, right? You can tell, Israelite indeed, right? Versus Hamite phenotypes, okay? You remember the Zondervan Compact Dictionary Bible, they talked about Ham, the progenitor, right? Which just means the beginner of the so-called dark race. Hamites are usually dark individuals, okay? As you can see, Hamite woman indeed, right? And keep in mind, when the children of Israel were on the western hemisphere of Africa, a lot of them did assimilate and, procreate with the Hamites, right? So, another dark melanated group of people with another dark melanated group of people. So that's where the confusion comes in with these stupid ass Edomites saying, "Oh, you blacks sold each other." No, dumbass. It was a specific group of people, right? Oppressing and, conspiring with your dumbass to sell the children of Israel, right? Okay. All right. As you can see the difference from the Israelite females and these females. Yeah, like they have no swag whatsoever. Like, what is this? What is your hair? Like, your hair is destroyed. Like, you got mumps, fam. What the hell? But they still have like the same nasal and oral like phenotype expressions, right? Right, full lips, full nose, vice versa. This is a woman, and she's a model. She's a Hamite, the one in the middle, right? Accompanied by, I believe, 2 Israelite women. Her name is Yakim Gatwich. Now, Yakim Gatwich in South Sudan. See, very dark individual, right? Just know that Moses was tapping this, right? But, no shame. Moses, do what you got to do. But, yeah. You can see, right? Like, this is what they look like on the, affluent scale, right? This is the best they can ever look like, right? The Hamites, right? The Hamite woman that is that model, and this is like typical, Hamite woman, right? This is Sudanese people, right? In that land of Kenya and vice versa. And another attribute about these people is that they can be extremely very tall, and the Bible alludes to this, right? As you can see, the giant status. There we go. And last but not least, basketball player, the son of that previous guy we saw earlier with Michael Jordan, Bo. This is his son, right? Okay. Plays for Denver. And I believe the Bible talks about the statue of like these people being like super tall as well. All right. So their crimes towards YASHARALLA, the children of Ham assisted the other nations to sell and own the children of Jacob. The biblical precepts to correlate and validate this point is in Joel chapter 3, verse 1-8. And it reads, "For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all the nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nation and parted my land. They have cast lots for my people, and they have given a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine," literally the transatlantic slave trade, "that they might drink." That's what they were doing, right? When the Europeans, or so-called Edomite cavemen, Caucasians, came over on the western coast of Africa, they were trading with their rum, their gunpowder, right? Their different types of concoctions and bullshit. But anyways, it says, verse 4, "Yea, and what have you to do with me, Tyre and Zidon?" The Hamites, these are Hamites, okay? "And all the coast of Palestine, will you render me a recompense?" God is basically saying, will you pay me back, right? A rhetorical question, because he is going to pay them back in blood. "And if you will recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head, because you have taken my silver and my gold," that's YASHARALLA, the children of Israel, "and have carried into your temples my godly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians." Who are the Grecians? The so-called Amalekites, the Edomites, the Caucasian devils the Bible speaks of, "that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place where you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head." Oh, there's going to be another transatlantic slave trade, okay? Just like Revelation chapter 13, verse 9-10 says, "And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord hath spoken this. Thus said Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua." All right. So some supportive videos that I would like to insert, right? And the progression of my videos will be this one first.
Ask the bloody question. Why are they only teaching you the history of slavery as far back as the 16th and the 17th century? Why are they only going that far back? Because they don't want you to go farther back than that, because then you'll actually find out the truth. But from the 16th and 17th century, we'll teach you about slavery. You've got to go further back. And you've got to understand and question, why do they do this throughout the whole of America, in all the public schools? Why do they only go back as far as the 16th and the 17th century to talk about slavery? We've got to go further back than that. Because Islam designed infernal slavery. And then the Ashkenazi Khazars, those who say they are Jews and are not, are the ones that marketed it. And the regal Negro nomads, exiled from the kingdom of Judah, were the main recipients.
So yeah, they were exiled during 70 AD. I believe Vespasian and Titus, right, during the wars in Jerusalem, right? A lot of them fled. You can find this in Luke chapter 21, right? And I believe where Christ prophesied that this was going to happen. And when the children of Judah, right, the southern kingdom, when they will gauge war coming at their doorstep, Christ warned them to flee and leave Jerusalem. And they went into the western coast of Africa. That's exactly how they assimilated and, were there until the Europeans got on the shores and conspired with the Hamites to sell them to the so-called New World, right? So remember that.
Of it at the hands of the indigenous black Africans.
There we go, the Hamites.
Because you've got to understand, the regal class of the house of Judah came down from Israel, and they came into the land of the black Africans. And the black Africans resented the regal class of the house of Judah in their land.
Yup, because they were very jealous of just the innovation, ingenuity, and the separateness that the children of Israel were commanded to display, right? Not mingling with other nations. But obviously after a while, they started to, assimilate with them. But at first, though, they were very, envious of that type of discipline that they had when they first arrived to the Western Hemisphere of Africa. Henceforth, the word Igbo comes from the so-called Hamites mispronouncing these people's identity, whether on purpose or not. But, when they first came to that coast and they met these people, they asked them, who are you guys? And they told them, we're Hebrew, right? From the tribe of Judah as Israelites. So they just started calling them Igbo as like a slang or whatever. So that's how that Igbo Hebrew word has come to fruition.
Because they had laws, they had customs, they had civility, and they were a regal class of Negro that came down into Africa. And later on, it was the Ashkenazi, the Islamic slave traders as well, that then worked together with the indigenous black Africans to enslave the regal house of Judah. This is what we've got to understand, but you've got to go back before the 16th century to understand the roots of it. So we're going to see, as we dig into this, where this slavery came from. Because it was really a system that was very, very well crafted. There was Islamic masters, and there were white Ashkenazi Khazar ship owners.
Perfect. So this can be found in the biggest conspiracy that's ever taken place on God's green earth in Psalms 83, I believe, from verse 1 to 6. And I told you all the co-conspirators and the people that are on God's hit list, okay? Like he just named the Islamic, right, which is Ishmael, the so-called imposters, right, the Khazars, the Caucasian Jewish people today. They're the ones who funded and facilitated and endorsed this whole, transatlantic slave trade and many other genocides on planet Earth. But we're going to carry on.
There were the buyers and the sellers. And they're not going to fill you in on all of this, but really you've got a 4-tier system. Number one, you have the Negro nomads that were exiled from the kingdom of Judah. Number two, you had indigenous black African hunters that resented the regal Negro nomads that had come into their territory with their own customs, with their own laws that were different and would not assimilate into their tribal culture. They were their own tribe. They were the regal house of Judah. Number three, you had Islamic trappers that worked with the indigenous black Africans to trap the regal Negro house of Judah. And then you had them sell them to the Ashkenazi ship merchants, along with many Portuguese and British Ashkenazi. So again, we've got the 4-tier system. Number one, we have the regal Negro nomadic class that are exiled from the kingdom of Judah. They are their own royal tribe in Africa. Then, number two, we have the native black African trackers. They're going to track them down. And number three, we have the Islamic trappers, because between 650 of the Common Era and 1900 of the Common Era, 10 to 20 million people were enslaved by the Arab slave traders. Over 20 million enslaved Africans were delivered through the Trans-Sahara route to the Islamic world. Can you get your head around that? That's not even touching the Americas. Over 80 million more blacks died.
And that's why you have a whole bunch of people on the western coast of Africa, like Mali, Ghana, like, Congo and vice versa. Like, a lot of them are like Muslims and stuff like that because of that, diabolical act by Ishmael and his nation by going in there and subjugating them and, converting them into Islam and vice versa. That's why. So,
at the hands of Islam en route. And number four, we have Ashkenazi Khazar Jewish ship merchants. And of course, the Portuguese and the British Ashkenazi were the main buyers. Islam and the Ashkenazi, those that say that they are Jews and are not, were the main sellers. Does that make sense? You've got to dig into this further. We have the 2 tiers right there. We have the Islamic trappers, and then we have the Ashkenazi ship merchants. You see, the Romans, they were globalist slavers. They were globalists then and now. They just migrated to Gaul, Ashkenazi, the sellers, and Britain, the British, of course, the buyers. German Jewry and British Jewry, where have they gone to? Well, they've descended upon Wall Street, upon Hollywood and Washington, D.C., as we see it right now, just to fuel this cataclysmic final war of globalism, which is none other than renaming colonialism.
There you have it. All right. So some more references I would like to pull up is in page 1 from this book titled The Atlas of the Transatlantic Slave Trade. And it reads, both Europeans and Africans saw the people traded into captivity on the African coast as outsiders. So that's going back to the nomadic, regal tribe of Judah, right? These were, these were the people who were commodities. These were the victims, right? Okay, so the next one, same book, page 127, and it reads, the British were major buyers before they banned their own slave traffic in 1807. They were replaced by the Portuguese and the Spanish, all Edomites. For as long as the traffic continued here, the majority of the captives were speakers of the Igbo dialect. Yo, bop, 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 ding, ding, ding. That's who I am. I'm Igbo, okay? These are demons, and they're going to pay for what they did. because there's so much history to back it up. Like, you can't even make it up at this point. If you don't believe this, you're just plainly like, you're an idiot, right? You were just born to be destroyed. You're void of knowledge, and you don't have the capacity, the comprehension skills to even put 2 + 2 together. Okay. All right. This is a book titled The Black Jews in Africa and the Americas, and it reads, there are both oral and written explanations that trace the origin of the Igbos, and the most tantalizing, an association of the Igbos to the Hebrew race. The assumption is based on the fact that the Igbos' culture has many similar traditional customs like that of the Jews. Similar customs are reserved in marriage, negotiations, childbirth, and circumcision. Restitution, attitude to torment animals, taboo, as well as hospitality to others, especially to strangers. The Igbo are therefore said to be the split and lost group or tribe of Israel that refused to wander further northeast with Moses, but preferred going down southwards, from page 11. So this brings me to the closing statements, and it reads, all these nations are very jealous, envious, and project their insecurities on naturally because we are chosen by Yahweh literally. In addition, we got next, and they know it as a result of the conspiracy in Psalms 83 and the collective lies that have been told by all you pagan nations, so much that we look at you all like his chosen people. God forbid. Therefore, you all will be extremely punished for this confusion and will receive double the portion with interest. Thus says the Lord. All we have to do, YASHARALLA, is repent, and the earth will go back into the hands of its rightful owners. Yahweh will fight for us according to Exodus 14:14. Thus said the Lord. So, my closing precept is how Yahweh feels about the other nations. In Psalms 96, verse 5, and it reads, for all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Psalms 115, verse 38 in MSG, our God is in heaven doing whatever he wants to do. Their gods are metal and wood, handmade in a basement shop, carved mouth that can't talk, painted eyes that can't see, 10 ears that can't hear, mottled nose that can't smell, hands that can't grasp, feet that can't walk or run, those that can never utter a sound. Those who make them have become just like them, have become just like the gods they trust. Lamentation chapter 1, verse 3. Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction and because of great servitude. She dwelt among the heathen. She found no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits. First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 10 and 12 reads, what nation has not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils, meaning like destruction, right? All her ornaments are taken away. So it's basically a rhetorical question. All these nations have had a spoil. Of a free woman, she has become a bond slave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste. And the Gentiles have profaned it. Who are the Gentiles? Other pagan heathen nations, okay? Isaiah chapter 40, verse 15 to 17 reads, behold, the nation are as a drop of bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the hours as a very little thing. And Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor beast thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. So God is saying these nations, you're not even sufficient. You're not even like significant for an offering. Okay. All nations before him are as nothing. Okay. And they're accounted to him less than nothing, and vanity, meaning of you're not worth anything. Okay. All right. And it's a correlation that I want to connect with 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 54 to 58. And it reads, and after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou hast made the world for our sakes. Who did God create the world for? YASHARALLA, okay? Nobody else. All you other heathen nations were meant to serve the children of Israel, okay? But because we disobeyed God, we've gone into punishment, and now we are, serving you. But there's going to come a time when the tables will be turned. Thus saith the Lord. Verse 56, as for the other nations that have descended from Adam, you have said that there are nothing, just like we read earlier, right? In, I believe, Isaiah. And then it says, You said they are nothing, and they are like spittle, and you have compared their abundance to a drop from a bucket. Spittle means spit. Okay, verse 57. And now, O Lord, these nations which are reputed to be as nothing, demeanor over us and devour us. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathens which have been reputed as nothing have begun to be Lord over us and to devour us. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and their fervent lover, are given into their hands. So with that being said, that concludes, my session. I hope everybody was greatly edified from the four corners of planet Earth. And keep striving for repentance, and Yahweh is going to be with us. And we're almost home, guys. With that being said, Kwam YASHARALLA.